I was laid off from the big auto plant. Middle-aged, with no other marketable skills, the only work I could find was managing the stockroom at a small private manufacturing firm. On my first day, I saw it in the corner, a massive machine shrouded in dust. It was a state-of-the-art imported precision instrument, worth over $500,000, just sitting there like a heap of scrap metal. A new coworker snickered. Don't even bother looking. The boss paid a fortune for it, hired 8 different experts, and none of them could get it working. It's just an expensive paperweight now. I walked over, my hand tracing the familiar lines of its chassis. I can fix this. The entire workshop fell silent. The boss, hearing the commotion, came over and looked me up and down with contempt. You fix it, and I'll give you half my shares in this company. You can't, and you'll spend the rest of your life paying me back for it. The hot, dry air of the workshop smelled of machine oil and metal dust. Every eye was on me, a spotlight of disbelief and scorn, as if they were looking at a madman. The boss, Rick Thorne, a man in his 40s with a growing paunch and gold-rimmed glasses, pushed through the crowd. He sized me up, his gaze as sharp as a scalpel, traveling from my faded, washed-out work shirt down to my dust-covered steel-toed boots. Finally, his eyes settled on my hands, a roadmap of calluses and small, silvery scars. You? He grunted, the sound a mix of disbelief and open mockery. John Carter, is it? HR told me you used to manage a warehouse at the old GM plant. I was a senior technician. I corrected him. My voice wasn't loud, but each word was clear. Senior technician. Rick acted as if I just told the joke of the century. He let out a booming laugh, his belly shaking. A wave of sycophantic laughter echoed through the workshop. A senior technician working in a stockroom? Come on, Carter. That's not even a good lie. I'm not lying. I met his eyes and repeated, I can fix it. My gaze drifted past him to the behemoth slumped in the corner. A German DMG Mori 5-axis machining center. Its ivory white enamel casing was coated in a thick layer of grime, like a forgotten work of art. My heart gave an unexpected twinge. The bittersweet ache of seeing an old friend again. Rick's laughter died in his throat. A muscle in his fleshy cheek twitched, and his eyes turned hard and cold. All right, fine. He clapped his hands together. I've got 20 engineers on my payroll. I've spent over 70 grand on 8 so-called experts and professors, and not one of them had the balls to say what you just said. He stepped right up to me, his stubby finger nearly poking my nose. And you, a new stockroom guy, you're telling me you can fix it? I am. I didn't flinch. Done. He threw his arm out. We'll make a bet. Right here, right now. You get this machine running, and I'll give you half of this company. We'll draw up the papers. Sign them on the spot. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Half the company. That was millions. Rick's eyes turned vicious, like a cornered animal's. But if you can't fix it, or if you break it even more, he gritted his teeth, his voice a low growl. This machine cost me $500,000. You'll be working for me for the rest of your life to pay it off. The workshop was dead silent. Even the whirring of the fans seemed to have stopped. Boss, don't waste your time with this idiot, the shop foreman said, trying to smooth things over. Yeah, Rick, he's just trying to make a name for himself. Rick ignored them, his eyes locked on mine. You in or out? An image of my wife, Sarah, her face pale and thin, flashed through my mind. The cost of her medication had already drained our savings. My daughter had just gotten into college. She needed money now more than ever. I'd been downsized, tossed aside like a fish on the shore. This trade, this skill that everyone else looked down on, was all I had left. Dignity doesn't pay the bills. But this fire in my chest, this burning need to prove them all wrong, was suffocating me. I'm in, I heard myself say. A cruel smile spread across Rick's face. Good, you've got guts. He turned and barked at his assistant. Mark, get the contract. No, not a contract. A betting agreement. I'm going to teach this guy a lesson today about running his mouth. A few minutes later, a sheet of paper, still warm from the printer, was slapped down in front of me. Equipment repair, betting agreement. Party A, Rick Thorne. Party B, John Carter. The terms were brutally simple. If John Carter successfully repaired the DMG 5-axis machining center, Party A would transfer 50% of the company's shares. If the repair failed or caused further damage, John Carter would be liable for the full depreciated value of the equipment, totaling $500,000. And I mean it about you paying me back for the rest of your life, Rick said, lighting a cigarette. The smoke swirled around his face, making him look even more menacing. If you can't pay, you'll be my indentured servant. I'll be sure to take good care of your wife and kid too. It was a naked threat. The other workers gathered around, whispering, he's crazy. He's actually going to sign it. Look at him. How's he ever going to pay that back? He's signing away his entire life. Serves him right for being a loudmouth. I picked up the pen, its tip hovering over the paper for a second. I remembered my wife that morning grabbing my hand, her eyes full of worry. John, don't push yourself too hard. Your health is what's important. We'll make the money back, slowly. I remembered my daughter's excited voice on the phone. Dad, I got a scholarship. It'll help you and Mom out. I couldn't fail. I had to win. Without another moment's hesitation, I signed my name, John Carter, on the line for Party B. After I finished, I looked up, meeting Rick's contemptuous gaze. Boss, I need an advance. 3 months' salary. Rick stared at me, dumbfounded. Then he burst out laughing, even louder and more derisive than before. Ha! Ha 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 ha! You haven't even started working, and you're already asking for money. You son of a... He caught himself, his expression shifting to one of pure disgust. Fine. You want it? You got it. He had the accountant bring a stack of cash and, in front of everyone, slammed it onto the table in front of me. $2,000. Go buy your wife her medicine. The green bills scattered like leaves, fluttering across the floor. Some slid under the greasy base of a nearby lathe. In that moment, all sound faded away. I could only hear the roar of blood rushing to my head. Humiliation, like a dull knife, sawed at my insides. I bent down in silence. Under the watch of dozens of pairs of eyes, I picked up the money, one bill at a time, each one carrying the warmth and scorn of another man. I carefully smoothed the wrinkles from the oil-stained bills, folded them neatly, and placed them in the inside pocket of my shirt, right over my heart. A young woman standing behind Rick, maybe in her early 20s and wearing a white sundress, frowned. It was his daughter, Lisa. I didn't look at anyone. I turned and walked straight toward the dust-covered machine. My back was ramrod straight. She's mine now. I walked a slow circle around the DMG machine, like I was inspecting a long-lost friend. The others had dispersed, returning to their workstations, but I could feel their eyes on me, their ears tuned in, all waiting to see the clown in the corner make a fool of himself. Lisa hadn't left. She stood a short distance away, arms crossed, her face a mask of undisguised skepticism and curiosity. I need a tool set, I said to her. She raised an eyebrow. What kind of tools? The stockroom is full of them. Go get them yourself. I shook my head and recited a string of German words. Eine komplette Garnitur von der Hoffmann Group. Drehmomentschlüssel, Satz Feinmessschrauben. Lisa's expression froze. She only understood bits and pieces, but the authentic German pronunciation chipped away at the disdain on her face. What did you say? I switched back to English, patiently repeating myself. A German-made Hoffmann Group tool set, 16-piece socket set, a torquey wrench, and a set of precision micrometers. They were bought with the machine when the factory was set up. Should be in a silver metal case. The shop foreman, a jaded old-timer named Dave, let out a snort. Hey Carter, who do you think you are? You think you know where everything is? We don't have anything like that here. You do, I said calmly. It's in the stockroom. Second row of shelves, third box from the top. It should have a label on it that says Ersatzteile. Dave's face changed. Ersatzteile was German for spare parts. The label was there, but almost no one in the factory knew what it meant. Lisa's eyes lit up. She turned to the foreman. Dave, go have a look. Dave, muttering about how I was just guessing, took 2 workers and headed to the stockroom. A few minutes later, the 3 of them returned, carrying a dusty silver metal case, their faces etched with astonishment. They opened the case. Inside, nestled in red velvet lining, was a brand new set of German tools, gleaming with a metallic sheen, the protective oil still slick on their surfaces. Dave's face went from red to white and back again. A few hushed gasps rippled through the onlookers. The way Lisa looked at me had completely changed. I paid them no mind. I put on a pair of reading glasses I'd pulled from my pocket and took a long, thin metal rod from the case. A mechanic's stethoscope. I didn't open a single electrical cabinet or connect any diagnostic equipment. I gently placed one end of the rod against the machine's main spindle housing. Then, I bent down and pressed the other end firmly to my ear. I closed my eyes. The gesture was like a seasoned old doctor listening to a chronically ill patient. Heh, what a show-off. Who does he think he's fooling? A young worker whispered. Yeah, thinks he's some kind of machine whisperer? He's going to diagnose it just by listening? Lisa frowned, clearly baffled by what I was doing. I heard none of it. My world had shrunk to just me and this machine. I could hear the subtle sounds from within, the almost imperceptible abnormal friction between the gears, the minuscule jerky hesitation as the guide rails slid, the faint popping of air bubbles in a specific point of the lubrication line. To anyone else, it was just noise. To me, it was a detailed diagnostic report, clear as day. For a full 10 minutes, I didn't move. Then, I straightened up and took off my glasses. I reached out with my rough hands and, as if stroking a lover's skin, ran my fingertips over the cold seams of the guide rails. Again and again, my fingers could feel the microscopic misalignments in wear, measured in microns. Well, Lisa finally broke the silence. Her voice had lost its earlier contempt, replaced now by sheer bewilderment. I turned to face her, and to face Rick and the other workers who had gathered around again. I announced my diagnosis. It's not an electrical problem. It's the machine's XY axis drive module. It took a hard impact during shipping or installation, causing an irreversible loss of mechanical precision. My initial estimate is a deviation of at least 50 microns. The statement hit the workshop like a bomb. Lisa's eyes went wide. She rushed over to a nearby desk, rummaged through a pile of papers, and pulled out a report, holding it up to me. But the diagnostic report from those 8 experts concluded it was a main control chip overload and burnout, drive circuit board failure, recommend complete replacement of the motherboard and servo system. On the report, the words main control chip failure were in bold red, followed by a shocking repair quote, $150,000. My eyes scanned the report, and a cold smile touched my lips. They were wrong.